On today's show, the Bucks get blown out in Game 3. 2 days ago, we asked whether Miami would have a response in this series, and they did so emphatically. And now, if the Bucks are to advance, they're going to find themselves in a series that has extended. What are some of the quick notes from this game, and what do the Bucks have to do in Game 4? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Bucks. My name's Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show Monday to Friday, and also find my work over at ESPN. By myself tonight, just some quick notes after this Game 3 blowout loss for the Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll certainly break this down in more detail as the week rolls on, as we lead into Monday night back in Miami, which again, similar to Game 2 for the Bucks, is going to be an absolute must-win for this team. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen of every single weekday. And we will have some special weekend shows, of course, through the postseason. So make sure you subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment, because that is the best way to get involved in the show. And I am absolutely going to want your feedback after this loss for the Bucks. So get involved, particularly on YouTube. And as I said, subscribe, because it helps us and it is absolutely free to do so. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. So 121-99 is your final in this game. And it was interesting because I actually thought the Bucks started pretty well. They led 21-15 late in the first quarter, and things were just ticking along nicely. The Bucks did not establish themselves offensively on the inside like they did in Game 2, but they were knocking down some shots from the outside. Jrue Holiday started hot, and then things turned, and it was Jimmy Butler that took over this game yet again. We've discussed how do the Bucks stop Jimmy Butler. No doubt, the best Jimmy Butler defender on this team is Giannis, and he's not playing. And this is why I've pushed back a little bit on the idea that the Bucks can coast in this series. We've had the debate about who's a bigger loss, Tyler Hero or Giannis. Certainly for me, I think if you look at the depth of this Bucks team and what we think the depth of this Bucks team, they should still be able to cover a loss of Giannis. But as we've said all season long, if you don't have Giannis in the lineup, you aren't going to do anything if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. You want to get out of the first round in a 1v8 matchup, but it is going to be fascinating to see whether he plays, because ultimately they need him to defend Jimmy Butler, and this is going to be a very difficult task and a tall order if Giannis comes back for Game 4. He's clearly dealing with pain right now, but Jimmy Butler was outstanding again. I think he scored 17 points or something ridiculous in the first quarter, but he finishes overall in just 28 minutes, mind you, 30 points, gets you 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He was 12 for 19 from the field. And now on the series so far, he is averaging 30 points, 60% from the field, 66% from three-point territory. So the Bucks were daring him to shoot a little bit. And Jrue Holiday was asked about the defense on Jimmy Butler in this game. And he said, well, hey, he knocked down a few outside shots, which is kind of uncharacteristic for the areas that he likes to score. But they are actually daring him to shoot, and they're wanting him to shoot the threes. And in this game, he was 4 for 4 from 3, and he wasn't alone, as the Heat from the outside went kind of nuts. And we are seeing some pretty wild shooting performances in this series so far, and it is tending to lead 2 wins to this point. 16 for 33 overall, 48.5% from 3 for the Heat on this night. They did make an adjustment in this game, and we wondered what the answers were going to be. And I was talking with Sean Rochester, who covers the Heat, on our podcast a couple of days ago, asking what is going to be the answer for Miami and what can they do to get back in this series. Now, he kind of thought that the Heat needed to stay small. They bring Kevin Love into the starting lineup for this game, and he didn't play a major role, but I just think it changed the way that Miami were able to score in the half court. You can put Kevin Love as a screener, then you know that he's going to pop to the perimeter. He has to be someone that you pay attention to. He was only 2 for 6 overall, but having just a bit more size was just a little bit more of a deterrent for the Bucks, particularly with the way they were trying to score on the offensive end. And we can get into some of that as we continue to roll on this show. But let me know what you thought about the Bucks' defensive performance in this game. I think we do have to give just some credit to Jimmy Butler as well, because even if you take away the 4 for 4 from the outside, he would have been 8 for 15 on twos. And honestly, at least 4 of those were incredibly difficult contested shots from Brook Lopez, and he's able to finish over the top, use the glass, get to the rack. So Jimmy Butler is on a tear right now. Again, at the end of this game, he looked very sore, and we are now entering the stage of this series where every single game is going to be day after day. I think that's probably part of the reason why the Bucks have been cautious with Giannis, trying to get him this extended rest. I don't think that they went into this game thinking, yeah, we can afford to rest Giannis for this series. We don't need him. I don't believe that. But, if you just look at the big picture for the Bucks, and if you're still looking at trying to win a title, and it feels a long way away now when you're down 2-1 in the first round, but the last thing you really wanted was to go 6 or 7 games in the first round. And if the Bucks are to win this series, it's going to be a minimum of 6 games now. So they are officially in a grind. I don't think that helps guys that have been banged up a little bit. More specifically, Chris Middleton, who I actually thought was good tonight, and he was asked to do a fair bit of work, as you would expect. I want to get to the offense in just a little bit, but 34 minutes for Chris Middleton tonight. We've discussed where his minutes totals have been at, and they've been slowly building. Of course, you want him to play more. He didn't look like he was hampered, but now he only gets 1 day off. And not only was he trying to carry the load on the offensive end, he was 8 for 14, 3 for 6, hit some tough shots throughout the night, but he was chasing around an old nemesis in Duncan Robinson on the outside as well. So there was a fair toll in those 34 minutes. I discussed and just asked the question from game 2, is Duncan Robinson knocking down some shots in the fourth quarter of game 2 going to come back to bite the Bucks? And I think it did a little bit. He came out tonight and he was absolutely sizzling. He didn't start. So they moved him back to the bench for Kevin Love. 7 for 9 from the field, 5 for 6 from the outside. And that is probably his best game of the season. And it comes at a bad time for the Milwaukee Bucks. So now, as I said, they find themselves under some extreme pressure as we move through in the series. I want to look at the Bucks offense coming up here next, and specifically how they utilize Brook Lopez, or perhaps how they did not utilize Brook Lopez. I've got some shot charts and some graphics here to show you guys. So we're going to get to that next after we talk about Prize Picks, longtime sponsor of the podcast here. And if you're not fully on board with how Prize Picks works just yet, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go and score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch. So you got the NBA, baseball, hockey postseasons going on right now, golf. They have to live golf out here in Australia on the weekend if you're into that type of thing. So you can find everything in between college sports as well. It's safe and fast to use. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, Prize Picks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, Prize Picks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Again, we thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen of every weekday, and for little special episodes like this on the weekend. We really appreciate it, particularly to the everydayers. And the everydayers are going to be in the comments. I know that. And they're going to be giving us our thoughts on this game. Also, don't forget, you can catch the Bucks home broadcast on Sirius XM Radio. Check out the SXM app and search for Bucks Game 4 between Miami and Milwaukee on Monday night. And you can listen to Dave Kane and Justin Garcia there. Make sure you drop in your feedback from this game. We're going to do a even more extensive recap of this game and look ahead to Game 4 with some notes from practice tomorrow. So drop all your thoughts in this game. Where are you on the panic meter if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan right now? It's not do or die in Game 4, but it kind of feels that way. You don't want to go down 3-1 and put yourself in the position where you have to win 3 straight, including 1 on the road. So it feels like a must win in Game 4 for Milwaukee. Absolutely. So if I look at the box score from this game, there are a few things that stand out. But number 1 is Brook Lopez. And we discussed him. We praised him. We said Miami don't have the size to slow him down. I already mentioned the adjustment they made to bring Kevin Love into the starting lineup. Obviously, Bam is a really good defender, even though he shouldn't have the size to actually deal with Brook Lopez. But I thought the Bucks were a little bit jump shot happy to start this game. If you go back to game 2 and you look at the 30-plus assists on 53 made baskets, it wasn't the case tonight. And Drew Holiday, I thought, obviously started this game really well. Was in double-digit scoring very, very early in this game, knocked down a couple of threes. And then I thought they just settled a little bit. I thought the Bucks settled. I thought they were shooting too many threes. And if you look at Brook Lopez on the night, 3 for 9 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. So he did only take 1 3 again. So that continues a trend of him not shooting a lot from the outside. But 3 for 8 on those twos. And you say, well, okay, what has changed between game 1 and game 2? So if I pull up the shot chart here for Brook Lopez tonight, it's very obvious, and this is what it felt like watching the game, and that's why I wanted to confirm with the shot chart. He was taking a lot of those push shots, floaters from deep in the paint. As you can see there, only 2 shots in the restricted area on the night, and that came on a Chris Middleton baseline drive, and then he was able to drop it off to Brook Lopez for the easy finish. So, yeah, they weren't able to establish Brook Lopez in the paint tonight, and that ultimately overall led to Miami having a 46-36 advantage in the paint. That is not a good number for this Milwaukee Bucks team. They can't get 2 3-point happy. They actually shot it fine. They were 38.5% in this game. 85 shots overall, 39 of them came from 3. It just felt like, particularly as they fell behind in this game, it was all from the perimeter, try and get up those quick shots. And the problem with that is, if you're not making them, and they did make a decent percentage, but if you're not making them, you're able to fuel Miami in the transition game. And I thought the Heat were able to get a better pace on the game tonight. They lead the fast break points only 18-13. But the Bucks taking quick shots in the shot clock. We heard the announcer for this game say 1 and done a lot for the Bucks, because it did feel like even though they were kind of keeping pace with the Heat, they were fueling the Miami transition. And the other thing that fueled the Miami transition was an old story from the Bucks, and one that we don't love and we haven't loved all season long, and that was the turnovers in this game. 5 turnovers for Chris Middleton, 5 for Drew Holiday. Overall, 18 turnovers, contributing to 21 points for the Miami Heat. This was a 22-point ball game. So I thought the Bucks were, a little bit sloppy, and I just overall don't think that they had the edge that they had in game 2. It didn't look like they had that competitive fire for this one, at least. So a few more things still to run through on this podcast. And as I said, we're absolutely going to be back tomorrow as well. But first, just a quick note from our friends at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. That's Built. And if you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on the taste, then let's be honest, that's what this is all about. I've got one thing for you: Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. They taste so amazing, you think they're good for you, you got to try this. What makes Built Bars so good? For starters, they're covered in 100% real dark chocolate, and they've got the amazing flavors: churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream, coconut varieties, which I am very much into. The good news is you don't have to go to Built.com. You can, but you can also go to a Sam's Club or Walmart and pick up a box of your own, and you can absolutely thank me for that later. All right, as we continue the show, again, let me know your thoughts on this game and everything that I've ran through here. Just some broad talking points out of this game for mine. As the Bucks were trying to make a push in this game, there were a couple of moments that stand out in my memory, and I watched this game a few hours ago now, but one just before halftime. And, unfortunately, we've discussed Jay Crowder, but he is just not having a good series. And his minutes just have not been good. He played 13 tonight. He scored 5 points. I can't even remember when he scored those points, to be honest. They weren't impactful. But just before halftime, it's a 9-point game. The Bucks are really making a push. It had been out to as many as 18 in the first half. They get it back to 9 points. And you're thinking to yourself, a couple buckets here, final minute of the first half, you can get this back to a 5-6 point game. And honestly, you feel pretty comfortable with that. You're like, this is fine. We're in a fine situation if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. Jay Crowder gets a floater. I actually thought that he probably should have dumped the ball over the top to Brook Lopez and he could have finished. Crowder misses a point blank floater, though, like a shot that he has to make. They run it down the other end of the floor, knock down a three. And instead of being a 7-point game with around 30 seconds to go, it's a 12-point game. And it just felt like a momentum killer. And there was many moments like that. And I don't want to just single out Jay Crowder, but that was just a painful possession for the Bucks there, or transition down the other way for the three. So, we said it on the last podcast. Maybe with some of the injuries he's had along the way, he's been underdone getting into the postseason. You would have loved to see him play a few more games before the playoffs, but he also had some good moments in the regular season. So this has just been, ultimately so far, a disappointing series for Jay Crowder. He wasn't alone tonight, to be clear. He was not alone tonight. Overall, this was a really disappointing game, but you're just waiting for him to have that impact moment, and so far, he hasn't been able to do it. Joe Ingles, who's been shooting the ball so well in this series, 1 for 6, but I think, again, some of those shots came with the home run variety. Let's quickly get a shot up. Let's try and get back. Let's eat into this margin. And probably just not as much running offense, facilitating, moving the ball. Just, again, a little bit sloppy in this game, which is a real shame, because you win this game. If you're able to win 2 games without Giannis in the lineup, you're hopefully getting back for game 4. You're absolutely in the box seat. And now that they let this one slip, and now you're in the zone where you say, okay, are we pushing the limits with Giannis? Are we going to risk him playing sore? You would have loved to get him a few more nights off. So it's going to be fascinating to see what Giannis can do tomorrow at practice, and then lead into game 4 in this series. He was on the bench again. He was cheering. I think he actually picked up a delay of game there at one point as well. As for the officiating, and this is a difficult spot to be in for the Bucks without Giannis, who just gets to the free throw line. And Richard Jefferson, I thought, made a good point on the broadcast. So the Bucks 12 free throws to Miami 17. It's not like I don't think the officiating was terrible. I think Chris Milton hasn't got enough calls in this series. I will say that. It looks like he is working through a significant amount of contact. He was 4 for 5 tonight from the free throw line. But as Richard Jefferson made the point with Giannis, what he actually does, aside from his 10 to 12 free throws, he's going to get a night alone, and hopefully you get sort of 8 to 9 free points there. He gets the team in the bonus. And there was a lot of times where fouls were made, and I was thinking to myself, how many fouls are they going to be at the free throw line? And they just weren't. And I think that hurts. This Bucks team, without their best scorer, lacking for a little bit of offense. Having said that, they are playing a team that we thought has struggled from offense all season long. So the free throw stuff is going to be interesting. The other just fascinating point in this game was the kick ball, and the obvious kick ball. And clearly the game was basically, the game was done by this point in time. So it didn't actually matter. But Chris Middleton slings the ball into a Miami Heat opponent's feet, hits him both feet. There's 2 officials right there staring at it. They choose not to make the call. Bud loses the plot. I think he was actually trying to get ejected. And I was thinking about this. I don't think that we've seen a Mike Budenholzer ejection to this point in time. He was definitely trying to get it tonight. And let's face it, who could blame him for wanting to stop watching this game a little bit earlier? Because it was a tough watch if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan. As I said, more to podcast about tomorrow, continuing to break down this game 3 blowout loss for the Milwaukee Bucks. All the news and notes from practice as well. And we're going to continue to roll on through the week and into game 4. Remember, you can hear the hometown broadcast of game 4 on the Sirius XM radio at the SXM app. Just search for Bucks and you will find Dave Kane, Justin Garcia, and the crew there doing a fantastic job. Thanks for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen again today. And to the everydayers, I know you'll be back tomorrow. I'll have a guest with me, and we will be talking all about this Bucks stuff. But let us know everything from tonight's game. What do you think of the offense and defense? Were you frustrated by the lack of ability to get Brook Lopez established in the paint? And what do you do with Giannis? Are you doing anything risky here? To me, I say it all the time, toughest man in the league. If he's not playing playoff games, he's clearly hurt. But we are almost at desperation times if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. Not yet, but almost. It's not do or die, but we're 1 game away from a do or die situation for the Milwaukee Bucks. So let me know what you thought about this game. I assume you didn't like it if you're a Bucks fan. Before the series, we said, who are the teams we didn't want to play? For me, it was Toronto and Miami. this is one of the reasons why he didn't want to play Miami, because they are a tough team and they're probably not going to go away. And if the Bucks are to advance, it's going to have to be in at least 6 games. So buckle yourself, or strap yourself in, or buckle yourself up, whatever the hell that saying is, because we've got to grind. And the Milwaukee Bucks, who have designs on winning an NBA championship, have hit an early roadblock in the postseason. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. As I said, jump in the comments, vent if you need to. We'll speak to you tomorrow.